You don't have to be an economist to know that the middle class salary is now $100,000. In 2019,
as much as I appreciate individuals like this, because I understand that their purpose and their point is to give the layperson the adequate, concise, and digestible tools to describe what is happening in the economy, right? Like, this guy does a great job at explaining to the layperson why the middle class is now considered someone or a household that makes $100K a year, as opposed to like $45K a year 2 decades ago or some shit. You know what I'm saying? It helps us to understand this. It helps the layperson to understand why the economy is fucked up, and it helps the layperson to have some type of defense system against our government, who is surely going to gaslight us into thinking that all of what is happening is fucking normal, right? It's not normal. Well, not normal in the sense of like, it's not okay. This is normal though. It's normal for capitalism. And I think that that's the blind spot that so many people like this individual have, because they are still very much capitalists. To them, what is happening is just capitalism gone awry. This is malevolent capitalism. And what we really need to do is just figure out a better distribution of the wealth, of the raping and pillaging, essentially. Because what is happening here is that the capitalist and ownership class continue to rape and pillage the global south for pennies on the dollar. They have all of this wealth that comes out of that, and either they can share it with the lay regular human being and create a reservoir of wealth in the middle class, or they can just gobble all that shit up themselves. And this is a capitalistic cycle. This is what is fundamentally capitalism. This is not like it, gone haywire. This is a feature, not a bug, right? And because these guys are not willing to admit that capitalism itself is the problem, they're only crafting a cultural understanding that we just need nicer capitalism. We just need democratic socialism. The ownership class can still be the ownership class. They just can't own so much. And that's the problem. We have to address, one way or the other, who gets to have a monopoly on resources. We're going to have to address, as a society, as a planet, who gets to have the monopoly on assets? Who gets to have the monopoly on benefiting from resources coming out of other people's fucking countries? Me personally, I think it's the people in those countries that should be benefiting the most from the resources that they have. Colored me crazy, but I'm also not a capitalist. You know what I'm saying? And we need to be wary of these individuals, because right now, the shit they talking is beautiful. And trust me, I be listening to it. I love this shit. I follow this person. I follow fucking Gary Economics on YouTube. I'm listening to all these little economic thinkers and shit, right? But it's palpable that something is fuck up. It's palpable that fuckery is afoot. So it's really easy to fall into this Maynard Keynes type vibe, looking at how capitalism is structured right now, right? It's palpably fucked up. Everybody getting their ass beat in this bitch, right? When shit was a little bit more evenly distributed, nobody was really saying much, because there was a middle class. There was a buffer. Despite the fact that there were still millions upon millions of people suffering under the weight of capitalism. There are billions of people all throughout the global south suffering under the weight of capitalism. It was fine when it was just them. And we had like a buffer. We had buffer states, buffer classes, all of that shit. It was cool. Now that the ownership class has decided that they want to take back the wealth that they allowed for the middle class of the world to hold, now all of a sudden, we need some more benevolent capitalism. That's bullshit. Capitalism has never been benevolent. It's always malevolent. It's always malignant. The scope of that malignancy widens and contracts, but will always be malignant. And sooner or later, we are going to have to deal with that shit. Sooner or later, we're going to have to address the problem of who has a monopoly over the assets of the world, over the resources in the world, over the currency of the world. Who gets to own that? Do we allow it to continue to be the very, very few, or do we make sure that it is for the majority? Who gets to have that freedom? That's the question. And that's why we need to be careful with listening to these guys and always keeping that shit in mind. Because what he's saying is not wrong. What he's saying is not incorrect or out of the pale or anything like that. But what it is we need to do about that shit, that guy might pull some punches because he still believes in capitalism. Punches that should not be pulled, in my opinion. We have enough people who have died in the name of capitalism for us to know that this is not the economic system that is the best economic system for the planet. It's not. Globalization is fucking killing us all, literally. So either we can reset the fucking matrix or we can destroy the matrix. Which one do you motherfuckers really want to do? Is the question that we should always keep in mind.